Okay, so could you please introduce yourself and what you do?
My name is David Adams. I'm the Chief Football Officer or the Technical Director for the FA of Wales. And my main responsibility is to deliver, obviously, and run the coach education programme in Wales. We have 17 staff, obviously, in that department, quite a large coach education department. One of our visions, obviously, in the Welsh FA is to be a world-leading deliverer of coaching courses. And the big part of my role as well is national teams. So I'm also responsible for our youth national teams and our women's and men's national teams. So yeah, quite a big team department that obviously deliver the high performance strategy around our national men's and women's teams.
How many of the current FAW staff, the Welsh national teams, that's women, youth, men's, the whole lot, have come through the coach education package of the FAW?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our current manager, Rob Page, is obviously a pro licence holder in Wales. I mean, and all of our national youth team coaches, people like Matthew Jones, who obviously played for Leeds and Leicester, is UEFA pro licence holder. Richie Williams, who's a head of player development, is a pro licence holder. Gemma Granger actually came from the youth teams in England. So she did a pro licence in England. But since coming to Wales, she's obviously become sort of integrated into our coach education department and obviously follows the Welsh way, our principles of play approach with the women's national team. And kind of follows that syllabus in terms of how we deliver to our national teams across both male and female. So yeah, apart from Gemma Granger, every other member of staff in our team is qualified through our Welsh FA education programme.
One of the biggest problems within African football, I've been there for a while, so I've seen it in several countries, is they cannot seem to bring their young coaches through. They can't develop them. There isn't any great facilities for doing it, even though they clearly want to do it, but they don't have the resources to do it. So how do you deal with that? Do you have a similar problem within Wales in that you've got young coaches or young aspiring coaches, and they're basically saying, I have everything I need except the resources to fund the coaching course. Can you help?
I mean, following the 2016 success of the European Championships, when we got semi-finals and also got very, very close to getting to the final, we invested in a National Football Centre in Dragon Park, which has now become our sort of coach education hub, I suppose, really, for all of our coaching courses. And by having, I suppose, a centralised venue where we can offer students, obviously, good facilities, good education services, that's really helped into the legacy project on the back of 2016. And I think a big catalyst for change was obviously introducing our Welsh Way national syllabus, which has enabled us to, I guess, have a methodology, a curriculum for our young players and coaches to follow. And it's given, I think, a clear framework, a clear way of working in Wales. And it's probably what's attracted a lot of international coaches to our programme as well, because we've got a good infrastructure, good facilities, a good reputation for delivering high-level coaching courses, which are relatively flexible around the learner. And we don't want to impose, a set philosophy on somebody. We want to try and give people the skills, knowledge, and understanding of the coaching process, but enable them to find their own way. So I think some of those things have really helped us, I guess, push forward and try and reach our goal of being a world leader in the delivery of coach education courses.
If you had, like the situation in Africa, where you've got talented young people and they're not going to make it on the field, they're born to be a coach, for want of a better way of expressing it, and they were saying, I need to learn how to coach, I need the opportunity, I need the license. How would you be able to help them, if indeed you are able to?
Yeah, I mean, we offer a level 1 program online, which is kind of open to all international students. So I suppose as an entry level into coaching qualifications, that's kind of the starting point for any person that's not played at a high level would sort of access coaching at level 1, which is where I started, I suppose, as a coach. And then I suppose we have, I guess, a pathway in place, a clear pathway, which doesn't discriminate against whether you're an ex-player or whether you're from a teaching background, whether you're a recreational player, an amateur player, a grassroots player. We see coaching as a completely different skill set, a completely different set of skills to being a player, for example. So I think that's really important that you recognise that coaching in the modern day is a profession in its own right. It's not just for the exclusivity of ex-players. There's many top managers these days, who are working in the market, who've come from a teaching background or come from an amateur football background. So I think the important thing is not to discriminate against the individual and make sure there's a clear pathway for anyone to access those various levels. And I think what we've done, I suppose, in Wales is we've just opened up that opportunity for anyone who's got a passion, I suppose, for developing players, for improving players, for being a coach, to have that opportunity to go through our pathway. So that's really important, that you try and remove those barriers. And I guess then it's just making sure that they're accessible, they're affordable, and there's enough courses to, I suppose, support your infrastructure in your country. We've got quite a small country, one small semi-professional league in Wales, which means, I suppose, although we're trying to develop first and foremost our Welsh coaches, we can also, I suppose, utilise the knowledge of people from Africa or from anywhere in the world, really, to come to our courses. And we think those people enrich our education because they help our Welsh FA, our brand, our image, to be on the world stage. But it also helps our coaches inside Wales to gather understanding and knowledge from different parts of the world. And I think that actually enriches our association by having people from different backgrounds who've played in different environments and different cultures, bringing those experiences back into our country. So I see it as a win-win, really. We're trying to develop fundamentally our Welsh coaches, but part of that is to also bring in some international, I suppose, students in some respects, or former international players that can also enrich our education and our knowledge of football from a more multicultural perspective.
If you had an African coach who has been there, done that within sort of African football, coached a number of teams within his own country, within other African countries, even a national team, and he wanted to do a coach education course, would he be welcome to do it? And if so, how would he apply and come onto the course? Would you be interested in having such a coach?
Yeah, I think most courses, like, predominantly trying to support our Welsh-based coaches first and foremost. So if it's 80% of our courses should be filled by Welsh-based coaches who want to develop football in Wales, definitely. And then we try and use this kind of 20% as a broad reference to enrich the environment. So if someone was coming from that sort of background, having coached national team level, for example, worked maybe in youth team level in a national association, had that experience, then we would definitely consider that applicant on that merit. I think first and foremost, the coach should be educated in their own country, because fundamentally it should be that national association's responsibility to support those people in their own environment. So I'd only see it as a choice, as a preference. If a coach, for example, wanted to work inside Europe in the future, would they see value in having a UEFA qualification, which enables them then to be more transportable, maybe from a different environment, to maybe be a coach in Europe? And sometimes coaches make that decision that they want to maybe come away from different parts of the world to come and work in Europe for a variety of reasons. I guess the UEFA qualifications enable coaches to then be transportable into these environments.
It's actually becoming important within Africa, because there are certain countries and clubs that are actually saying they want the UEFA qualification as well. So you may find you'll get more like this. For example, Asamoah Gyan, I understand, did do a course with the FAW, and he could easily have done one of the CAF courses, because he's a well-known person within African football, but he chose to do the UEFA license. And this is partly because that's what people are being pressured to do now. To get the top jobs, they want the UEFA license as well now.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of African players as well have come to the Premier League, I suppose, and then it's like a network, isn't it? A player who's come on a UEFA course, they enjoyed the experience, and it just gets passed through a network. Really, we've benefited hugely from obviously our success in, I guess, putting Mikel through a course, and Thierry and Roberto Martinez, and all these people that have come through our program and our alumni. People will speak to those people, in the game, who've done our courses, and they'll obviously speak very well of how we treat people, the way in which we try and make everything reality-based learning, provide mentoring support. It's very much based on an individualized program for them. And I think any player, I suppose, who wants to be successful in transitioning from being a player to a manager has to look at every course and look at the quality of that program what service is it going to give me as a coach? How is this course going to help me achieve my objectives? And I think you should be selecting a course based on those things. I think there should be an open market in some respects for people to have selection of where they want to do their coaching qualifications to give them the best possible opportunity. Very similar to me selecting a university where I want to study sports science or want to study biology or chemistry, whatever it might be as my discipline. I'll go to the university which give me the best opportunity to have the best possible career. And I think similarly, I suppose, as national associations, we have to make sure we deliver very high quality education provision, which is reality based, very much individualized, and very much understanding of the the individual characteristics and the personal development that coach needs in order to make sure we give them the right level of service. I don't think it's a one size fits all approach to coach education these days. I think courses that deliver, stack people high and just deliver the same program, I don't think they're successful programs. The best programs for me in education are where you could actually support the individual in situ, try and make it as much reality-based learning as possible, and actually give them the skills, knowledge and experiences to actually be able to do the job, which is extremely stressful, extremely demanding, and requires a very high skill set these days to be successful. So I think we have a responsibility to make sure that our programs are at the cutting edge, and are supporting those players who are transitioning, or any person that wants to become a professional coach, to deal with the actual reality of what it looks like, at the sharp end of football, which is what it's like day to day in a professional environment.
What does the FAW get back from coaches? You've mentioned the likes of Roberto Martinez and Thierry, for example. What do you get back? Do they give you testimonials? Do they basically say, we couldn't have done it if it wasn't for the help of the FAW or things like that?
I wouldn't go as far as that. I think I suppose they end up being natural ambassadors, not forced ambassadors, just natural ambassadors for what the program is in Wales. How effective it was for them, how successful it was for them, and they obviously pass it through their networks, which is natural. It's word of mouth, isn't it? I think the other things they give back is their time. Like Mikel Arteta recently spoken on our pro license, for example. Roberto Martinez recently did the same thing on our national coaches conference. So we try and, I suppose, over time, when the coaches have got to revalidate their qualifications every 3 years as part of their UEFA professional development hours, they then come back and obviously contribute to the wider programme in Wales and support obviously our coaches inside Wales who are going through our various levels. So there's probably a lot of benefits really in terms of the network they provide us with, but also obviously the hours they then provide us with to help enrich our other programmes, in the years ahead when they finish their awards.
Does the FAW have links with other countries that don't have the same facilities and don't have the same opportunities, so that they can take their coach education program to other places?
Yeah, we've had a partnership for a few years under UEFA with Gibraltar to support Gibraltar Association with the delivery of all of their coaching courses on the ground in Gibraltar, just because they didn't have the infrastructure to deliver those courses. So UEFA asked us to support them in their delivery of those programs. And then we have opportunities for people to access our FAW courses, which are our grassroots awards, via our online platform, FAW courses, which is kind of a blended learning platform where coaches can access our sort of level 1, level 2 programs, which are our grassroots courses really, and they're offered predominantly online. Before coaches then access the UEFA courses, those courses have to be attended in Wales, obviously under UEFA rules. So it's only really our grassroots courses that are applicable and available via our online platforms. And then from UEFA B license onwards, then coaches obviously come to Wales for their education. But that's the only real, I suppose, opportunity for people internationally to access some of our lower coaching awards is obviously via our online platform.
I've been to Wales several times. It's one of the most inclusive places you can find. They're very welcoming to any nationality and any ethnicity. Basically, they're welcoming people. And that has sort of attracted me to them over one particular thing, which is one of my big bugbears is a team called Karabakh. And that is because they were a refugee team. a real, genuine refugee team, but a professional team. What happened was they were victims of the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, and they had to leave their homeland, had to leave their stadium, they had to leave everything behind. They end up going to Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, and they set up there. They build their own new stadium, but they never forget their refugee roots, and they always provide tickets for the genuine refugees of Karabakh to come and support the team. So I like them. I think, they deserve a great deal of credit, and football should be trumpeting them as one of the great success stories of European football. So obviously, what has this got to do with what we're talking about? Well, it is, would they have the FAW, with its inclusive approach, be able to provide coach education for Karabakh? If they said, we've got some youngsters, we want to train them in coaching, but we can't do it. Can you help us?
Definitely. I mean, in terms of our level one, they can access it obviously online. And if we wanted to set up some sort of partnership or arrangement with, with that specific group of people, then we'd be open to that. Obviously our courses are open to anyone. That's kind of the idea behind having them online. I guess at a certain level, if a coach wanted to progress to our UEFA courses, then we would need to obviously travel into Wales to do those courses. But again, those opportunities are available. We run 8 UEFA B license courses a year, so we're running quite a lot of programs inside Wales, and a lot of coaches internationally are traveling in to complete those courses. They are relatively, I suppose, cost effective, good value for money, I suppose. So there's definitely opportunities there, and if, like you said, they're coming from a specific group, I'm sure we could do something to support that, as a welcoming association as we are.
Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of what your coach education program is all about, how you get onto it, and how you progress on it?
I think the main thing really to, I suppose, promote really is it's a kind of agile program, and it's very much individualized, which I think is a really unique selling point. We obviously put a lot of focus on mentoring and individual support for the coach, and that's probably where we've been successful, I suppose, in transitioning a lot of top level players into management roles. But similarly, why a lot of people want to come to Wales for this, I suppose, experience. We're not hugely concerned about making masses of profit out of coach education. We see it more as a service which promotes and develops coaches. Fundamentally, it's about that first and foremost, and then obviously you've got to try and balance the books. But fundamentally, it's about an individualized approach and giving coaches the best opportunity to be successful in the future.
How much would it cost for the individual things? Like if you were doing it online, if you were doing the first level by being present, if you're doing the pro license, well, basically the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, the level one is online. I think the price is around £75 or maybe £100 for level one, which is 5 online modules.
Mm-hmm.
And then in order to be a coach in the grassroots game, you need to do your first aid and safeguarding courses, which are around £50 to £60 each for safeguarding and first aid. If you're working inside Wales, there's obviously funding from Sport Wales to help coaches who are volunteer coaches, to get on the coaching ladder. So there's support inside Wales, but for your external, I suppose, international candidate, they'd have to, I guess, self-fund that or ask their company to support them in that respect. And then the C certificate is around £350, which is kind of 6 days and sort of 6 to 8 online modules. So that's delivered in different ways. It's delivered, some courses delivered like more traditional in blocks. Some are delivered like in 2 days. Some are delivered like in an evening. So there's very flexible ways of I suppose, being qualified at FAWC certificate level. There is also a way of doing it as an international student as well, which is sort of a slightly different way of doing it. And then there's obviously then that transition. We just started a FAWC C license, which is a kind of UEFA C license course, which is our transition between being a grassroots coach and maybe going on to more of an elite, or what we call a pathway coach, onto our UEFA B license. So UEFA C license is what we call at the top end of our grassroots qualifications. And that's just a bolt on to the FAWC certificate. It's just 1.5 days. but it has a small assessment component attached to it at the end. And then you enter the UEFA B license, which is £400. And then the A license is a bigger investment. We deliver that as a sort of it's 2 qualifications in one. So it's an FAW A license or UEFA A license, which allows you to coach senior players. But it's also a UEFA A elite license or youth license. So you can also coach in the elite youth space as well with that qualification. So it covers both parts of the game, which is around £4,000. That's a big program with like individual mentoring. It's a sort of 12-month program of study for coaches. And then the UEFA Pro license is very small. It's every 2 years. We allow 20 coaches onto that program, and we're getting about 160 applicants every 2 years who are applying to that program. So it's a very, very popular program to join, I suppose, very prestigious under the UEFA umbrella. So our pro license is kind of like an 18-month program, which is very much focused on like leadership and management and managing, I suppose, the players and the staff and the wider, I suppose, stakeholders inside a club. Not quite as much about the technical and tactical, but more about the sort of leadership and management components. And we teach that through like specialist training, through military modules on leadership. We have some business leaders come in and speak from a CEO perspective. And we also visit a lot of clubs and do a lot of sort of reality-based learning in clubs as well. So the pro license is kind of the top end of the program. We allow 20 on that program every 2 years. We allow 44 candidates, and we get about 280 applicants onto our A license every 12 months. And our B license, we have about 300 spaces a year on our UEFA B license program. And then our C certificate is about 550 places a year on that program. And then we're getting around 3,500 through our level 1 courses each year. So that's kind of how it looks. That's kind of the cost, I guess, and a breakdown of what the courses kind of look like.
Sorry, what is the cost of the pro license on the 18 months thing?
So the pro license is 10,000. Yeah, so it's
and that would mean you'd have to basically be doing nothing else for the 18 months. You wouldn't be able to sort of be coaching a club day in, day out.
Yeah, you have to meet the criteria of the course. And the criteria of the course is you've got to be a professional head coach in a full-time team, an assistant manager in a professional league, a national team head coach or a national youth team head coach, or you need to be in like a head of academy role or a head of coaching role in the academy space in order to meet the criteria under UEFA to come onto that program. So you basically need to be full-time in football really to access the pro license. And because predominantly aimed at people that are working in the top leagues, because to play in European competition, you have to have a pro license, or to be a national team coach in a national team fixture, you have to hold the UEFA Pro license. So we try to, I guess, safeguard those places for people that are working in either the top leagues or those that are working in national teams to enable them to have the qualifications to actually work in those positions. So it's quite a boat program, the UEFA Pro license, really. And given that it's every, I suppose, 2 years, there's only 20 spaces available to coaches. It is a very niche kind of program. And most coaches predominantly only really need a UEFA A license, because the UEFA A license is more about tactics, strategies, and on-pitch coaching. The Pro license really is mainly around media training, leadership, management, and how you manage all those sort of wider stakeholders in a head coach role.
So if you were to generally coaching within Africa or any other continent, would this license actually be suitable for you, or is it one of these that isn't really in your best interest?
You wait kind of the really important license to be a coach on the pitch. If you want to be just an assistant manager or a first team coach, or you want to be a youth coach, for example, like the UEFA A license gives you what you need in terms of the on pitch, like technical, tactical delivery side. But if you want to be a head coach and that's your aspiration to be a head coach, then the pro license is the course, really, because it adds that additional knowledge around how to lead and manage and deal with the media and, you know, deal with the wider stakeholders when you are in that head coach position. So it's kind of layered that way, that the B license is more of a basic introduction to field-based coaching, general practices, not too tactical. The A license becomes the advanced license, advanced tactics, advanced pitch delivery, advanced communication skills, advanced delivery skills on the pitch. And then once you've got that, I suppose, knowledge of the coaching aspects, then we add the pro license, which is more about leadership management of the kind of wider stakeholders, the players, and the staff in a kind of first team role.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we're good. Thanks. It was really interesting.